guys, today I'm going to be talking about The Adam Project, which came out in 2022 on Netflix. Netflix films aren't typically the best, but this one genuinely surprised me. It is a sci-fi action comedy directed by Sean Levy, who's done other films like Free Guy and Reviw. From the trailer it looked fun and cool, but also full of tension. I don't typically like action films, but I generally did enjoy this one. For my quick overall review, it's a typical science fiction action film but with the comedy mixed in. I found it very funny and the action sequences were really cool in this film. I have a few issues with the film, but without going into spoilers, they are that some of the jokes don't really land, some of the characters don't feel like they have enough depth, and there's a couple of loopholes which I have a few questions about.
I need to think it through. I'm about to lose my
The basic premise of this film is that past meets future self. In the first scene, we see future Adam from 2050 steal a jet and then travel to 2022, where he then meets his past self. While I'm explaining the plot, I'm going to be calling them FA for future Adam and PA for past Adam, because it'll make it a lot easier. FA tries to keep his identity secret from PA, but eventually he figures it out and just wants to know everything. Instead, they decide to team up and help each other with their different issues. FA was injured, so he needs time to recover and his ship needs to be repaired, while PA is struggling with some issues not long after his father has died. PA helps FA get into his ship so he's able to fix it, and then he explains that he was trying to get to 2018 to find his wife. It takes time for the ship to repair itself, and FA also needs to heal his wounds, so they just decide to lay low for a bit. The next day, PA gets his ass kicked as the FA forces him into a fight which he loses. This creates some tension between them two, and they end up having a fight where FA then reveals that his wife is dead. Next we have the bar scene where FA goes for a drink and then ends up meeting PA's mum. This ends up with him giving her some reassuring words that make her feel better about herself and make her not feel like such a letdown of a mum. While the Adams are just chilling out at home, still waiting for the ship to recover, the future then comes and tries to take Adam back. This is where we meet Time Travel Lady, which is the big bad guy of this film. I can't remember her name, but here it is, I'll look it up afterwards. This ends up in a cool fight scene where the wife ends up showing up and saving both the Adams. The wife then explains why she's been here all this time and what happened to her. She reveals that the Time Travel Lady went back in time to change the past so she could have a better future where she has more control over time travel. That's why the wife went back in time to investigate this and find out what actually happened. Then there's this weird scene afterwards where they start getting hot and heavy when the kid is still in the room, so he awkwardly leaves or they go to have sex, which was really weird and I found very uncomfortable because it's not very normal. Afterwards they discuss what they need to do next, to which the wife says that they need to destroy time travel before it even exists. FA is scared though because he met his wife through a time travel program when they took a course together and that's how they met, so he's scared that if time travel doesn't exist then he won't meet his wife. Then the future people show up and start attacking them, to which the wife sacrifices herself so both the Adams can get away. The scene where FA and the wife say goodbye to each other is so emotional and really hits you in the feels. You feel really bad for him because he's just got his wife back after 4 years and now she's sacrificing herself so he can go away again. Because of the sacrifice though, both the Adams are able to get away into the ship where they're able to travel to 2018. This is where they meet their dad and they explain everything to him and try and ask for his help, but he just refuses because he doesn't want to mess with the timeline. This contains a funny punch scene between the dad and FA and it's really funny to watch. After the dad says no and refuses to help them, both the Adams come up with a plan to destroy the machine. The next day they go to do their plan and the dad actually joins them after rethinking his decision, which ends up in a funny scene where he nearly hits FA with the car. They make it down to the machine and then have a massive fight scene with the future people because they're trying to stop them. This is disruptive because the machine has been damaged and attracts all these metal things towards it, which causes a lot of funny things but also weird things to happen. The fight lasts for a while and a few things happen, but it ends with the Time Travel Lady ends up shooting herself when aiming at the Adams. Next they escape the room and then go home. While they're at home they wait for the timeline to fix itself and then send them back to their original times. This leads to a heartwarming scene where all of them play catch together and connect again, but then they just suddenly disappear and go back to their own times. At the end we get a couple of scenes where we get to see what everyone is doing now and how the timeline has changed. In the end everyone gets a happy ending and it's just really nice. The film ends on a high note and just leaves you feeling good about all the characters and where they ended up. The plot of this film is a typical sci-fi story, but I feel like it works, especially with the comedy mixed in with it. I did really enjoy this film and I laughed quite a lot and I'm really glad that everyone got a happy ending. I feel like the story mostly works, but there's a few loopholes or problems here and there that I have a few questions about. During the fight scenes, the people that they fight start off invisible but then reveal themselves right before attacking them, which in my head doesn't make full sense. If you're going to attack someone invisible, why not stay invisible until you attack them so they don't know you're there? If you attack them while you're visible, they know where you're coming from and then can stop you. One thing about the fight scenes that I did like was when the people are defeated, they float away in this dust effect, but that does leave the question of whether they actually die or if they're just being sent back home to their own timeline. Obviously the fight scene ends with the time travel lady killing her past self with the gun. There's two loopholes here that I found. The gun she uses obviously has metal in it, or at least if it doesn't have it in it, it has metal in the bullets. So surely it should have been attracted to the machine and you shouldn't be able to use it. I'm no time travel expert and I don't know if anyone else can explain this, but if your future self kills your past self, then how can your future self kill the past self if the past self doesn't exist to become the future self? It kind of confuses me a bit and leaves me with questions. If anyone can explain this, then I'd love to hear how it works or what kind of science is behind it. In this film, I feel like the characters don't have much about them and they don't have much depth into them except for when certain things happen to them. In this film there are two Adams. First I'm going to talk about PA. He is your typical young, witty kid. He's emotional, he's curious, he's smart, but he's still just a kid. The only special thing about him is that his dad is dead, so instead he turns on his mum and is kind of just a dick to her. He doesn't purposely go out of his way to be mean to her, but he's just kind of a dick around her in general, and it just makes her feel shitty about herself. His growth in this story is that eventually I think he appreciates his mum, so in the end he actually shows her affection and tells her that she's doing a good job. Walker Scobell, the actor who plays him, did a really good job, and I think he plays a really good young Ryan Reynolds, especially with all the witty comments, and when they were back and forth they worked really well. FA is just an older version of PA obviously, but he has a bit more development in him from what he's gone through. He's a lot more skilled and protective, but he's also more independent, I think. Obviously we know that he's had a hard life from what he tells us and also what we see on the screen. I really felt for this character, especially during his emotional moments when he says goodbye to his wife. I think that's more down to the acting than the actual scene itself, but I just think it works really well. His journey in this film is just making a lot of sacrifices and he gives up a lot just to save the day. FA is played by Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds is a great actor. He plays his character so well and the witty humour is just so good. I think he works really well when bouncing off other people and just making funny comments. His emotional scene in this film works really well, and I think that's all down to how good he is as an actor. The dad is a very typical dad. The only thing that's different about him is that he is the father of time travel.
Holy I'm the godfather of time travel?
I don't really have a lot to say about this character. He's just kind of your typical dad. He's there for the boys, he tries to be there for them, and he helps them out in the end. He's played by Mark Ruffalo, who is also a very good actor in this film.
It's okay, it's fine, I'm fine. So, let's forget. We don't hit people in this family.
The mum is also a very typical mum and just tries to be there for her son while doing the best job she can. I think that parents can relate to her and really feel for her, and when you're watching you do feel bad for her, but other than that there's not a lot to her character. Laura, who is the wife of future Adam, is a badass woman. She's smart, independent and very funny. She's only in the film for a short period of time where she's used to progress the plot and be the love interest for FA. Other than that, there's not much to her and I don't have anything else to say about her. Time Travel Lady, who is the bad guy in this film, is a very typical villain. She's just a greedy woman who wants all the power of time travel and just wants it all for herself. She's a typical villain where they try to push a little bit of sympathy for her because she's lonely, but you don't really feel anything for her, and the fact that she kills herself in the end is like karma, and I think it works. But other than that, I don't like her.
Give her the gift to try! Do it! Maya.
The cinematography in this film is good. The camera work is mostly typical and there's nothing that really stood out to me. There are a few scenes that really stood out to me, especially for their lighting, and I think that really worked in this film. There are also a few shots where the focus changes from one subject to the other and I really like them. The editing in this film seems really basic and nothing really stood out to me except for the sound. The sound design for the weapons and the ships especially were really cool and worked well in this film. During action sequences they picked some different songs that actually made me feel pumped up and excited to watch them. The only other thing that I noticed was the text that popped up to let you know what year we're travelling to. When it left the screen, it had a similar effect to what happened during the fight scenes when the people were defeated. It worked really well and I think it looked good. I had a few key points for this film, but I think I've talked about them enough in the other sections. Overall, I really liked this film and I did enjoy it, so I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. I recommend it for people who do like science fiction and action, but also just love to have a little bit of a laugh. Comment down below what your opinions were of this film, or if you have any other film recommendations for me. Thank you for watching the video, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye.
Because I named him. Where are you going?
Why do I keep up? Off with the speech. Some of the characters don't really feel like they have a love and depth there. No, they don't. Why am I lying? Sweary time travel. That's so many words with my little brain. It's 60 minutes in. Wow. I think that's fine. Can't be that again and end up running home. Not running. Why do I keep changing it? See, it's not that hard. Why the can't you talk like a normal person? Rated. Is he though? I think he's just normal. Okay.